Alright guys, so I was looking back through my videos, and would you believe that it has been almost 5 years since I left something in a rock tumbler? How is that even possible? It feels like just 2 weeks ago I was leaving things in rock tumblers, but it's been almost 5 years. So I figured, let's bring it back. It's been long enough. So today we're going to be leaving 5 random things in rock tumblers for 30 days. For those of you that might not know what a rock tumbler is or how it works, I'm going to quickly show you. It's a very simple process. So a rock tumbler, you just have a rubber drum and you would put something in the drum, normally rocks. You put water and some type of aggregate in the drum, and then you put the drum on here, and then this thing just constantly rotates the drum around and around, and then the water and the aggregate kind of eat away at whatever it is and smooth it out and make it shiny. Or in our case, hopefully cause destruction. And it's just real simple. You put it on there, it spins. Very simple. This video is actually this experiment's actually gonna go past 30 days because each rock tumbler has a 9-day timer. And we have 4 stages of grit. We have, I've only collected all the coarse ones, but we have a coarse, a medium, a pre-polish, and then a polish. So we're gonna run each grit for 9 days, and then I'm going to show you the progress between each step so you can see all the steps leading up to the final product. So the first thing that we're gonna leave in the rock tumbler is, we're actually leaving 6 things, technically, because we're gonna do one just dedicated to what it came with, which is just rocks. So we got, ooh, what is that thing? I don't know, that thing looks expensive or something. The rest of these are just rocks. Then you got this really nice shiny thing. We got 2 pieces of that shiny stuff. Okay, so I don't know anything about rocks. All I know is that these are just different types of rocks. So, put those in there. So now, the first of the random items, we're gonna do some Legos. And I have built this Lego frog that I think, yeah, he's not gonna fit in there. We're gonna have to do a little bit of deconstruction here. We'll take out, maybe we can get away with just doing that. I think we gotta break all his legs off. There we go. We'll do that. Next up, we have, if I can get that here, we have a gold necklace. Finding a gold necklace on Amazon is actually kind of tough. This was I think it's a 14 karat plated necklace or something, because it wasn't expensive enough to be like pure gold. What I'm expecting that the coating is gonna wear off, and then we're gonna be able to see all the different layers of metal that it's made out of. So hopefully that'll be pretty cool. In you go. Next up, we got some random nuts and bolts. I have taken a selection of these and put the nut on the bolt, and then I took one of them and I just filled the whole thing with nuts. So we'll put those in there, and then we're just gonna, just to fill up some space, I guess let's just dump random amounts of different things in here to fill up the gaps. That's a disaster. Let's go this way. That should be enough. This is gonna trigger somebody, I'm sure. I'm just gonna put all these back where they belong. There we go. Somebody who likes things organized will enjoy that. Next on the list, we have obsidian, which I don't even know if you can rock tumble, because at least what I know from Minecraft, obsidian is supposed to be extremely hard. On the bag it says crystal healing. So I don't know is obsidian supposed to be healing in some way? How does it heal you if it does? Does it do you eat one and it heals your insides or what? What's this? Lucky stone. Do we get other stuff? Are we getting a twofer? Yeah, I guess we're getting a twofer. So I guess we're going to do obsidian and then whatever in the world these are. These are some big chunks. I don't know if this tumbling this is going to even do anything, but we'll see. And then last but not least, this is one that I'm very curious about. Seashells. It looks like we got some like starfishes. Multiple, I guess, different kinds of starfishes. I'm very curious about this one because a rock tumbler sort of kind of mimics the ocean in a way, I guess. Like a very sped up version of what the ocean would do to something. Oh wow, we got all kinds of little seashells. Okay, let's try not to put too many of the exact same one in there. Oh, these look like the ones that like hermit crabs live in. So let's put in some of those. Some of those. I think this is like a miniature conch shell. Let's put that in there. Some of those. Let's see. That should be able to tumble still. We'll put that in there. And then let's put in 3 of each starfish, and then we'll save a couple. That way we can have a really good before and after. Actually, let's just do 2. We'll do 2 of each. These little tiny ones, I feel like these things are just gonna like crush, and there's gonna be nothing left. We got a little bit more room. Let's do that. So now we just gotta fill them up with grit, fill them up with water, and we're good to go. All right, now you all get some grit. And then now we just gotta fill them all up with a little bit of water. This one, that sounds like ice cubes almost. Sounds like a nice little refreshing drink. All right, I'm gonna put all the lids on these, and then I want to turn all of these on at the same time, so that way you guys can hear what type of nonsense I'm gonna have to listen to for the next, like, whatever, 45 days. Something else I don't know if I mentioned or not is that all of these do have adjustable speeds, and I'm just gonna run them all on the max speed. All right, let's get this party started. That's actually not as bad as I thought. Whenever I had that big rock tumbler and I was tumbling things, it was louder than this. This might actually not be that bad. I'll see you in about 9 days. All right, so a quick little update on the rock tumblers. You can see I have them all lined up. This one had a blowout, and this is the one, this had a blowout probably less than 6 hours into spinning, and then it just blew all the grit and water out all over the place. This one had the little screws in there. So I switched it over to the big red rock tumbler, and let me show you what it did. So I switched it over to this big red one because it has the studs that I can just tighten the wing nuts down really tight to stop it from exploding. But if you look inside here, it's not nearly as bad as it was. Like right here, you can see it's like built up this really thick foam. It's kind of died down now. But when I first opened this, the foam was even to the top. And it was even kind of like oozing out of the sides, and it had a lot of pressure. So there's some type of chemical reaction going on inside of this one. I'm not entirely sure what that is. All right, so before we go any farther, this video is sponsored by Manscaped. Manscaped has sent me the Chairman Pro package, the brand new Chairman Pro package. So let's see what's inside. Now, this is a face and head shaver. So you get a foil blade. You also get a stubble trimmer. And the trimmer is also everything you expect from Manscaped. It's waterproof, it's rechargeable, it has a light on the top so that you can see what you're doing. You can also turn the light on and off. And then what's really nice is it has a tiny LCD screen so that you can see your battery life, so you know when it's time to recharge. And then to switch out the blades is extremely easy. They are magnetic. Say you want a close shave today, but you want, to just trim some stubble tomorrow, just pull it off. And then right there you go. Back on, change back. It's that easy. And then the head itself swivels so that it can contour to your face or head. You get, I guess this is a cable probably. Oh no, you get guards. I didn't even know that. So you get 2 guards so that you can trim at different lengths. You get a charging brick, and you also get a charging cable. So that is what you get in there. And then you also get some power shave gel. And then you also get some aftershave serum. So if you're interested in this or anything else that Manscaped offers, you can use code TUBE and you'll get 20% off your order plus free shipping. All of the links will be in the description. I have an update for you. We are now done with the Coarse round of aggregate. These are the bolts. You'll notice that they are now a little bit rusty, even though they've only been sitting here for a couple hours maybe, just to dry off. And they don't really look all that much different, with the exception of the only one, because I know there was at least one of the bolts that I put nuts on all the way up, and this is the only one I found. I think the rest of them have just undid themselves, or a gremlin came and stole it, or something. One thing I did notice, I was going to try to show you. Okay, I might be able to show you because I can get this off now. All of the bolts, the threads have been completely flattened. Like, normally threads are kind of sharp. They're all pretty flattened. So hopefully you can tell there. These threads have been flattened. And where the bolt was protecting the threads, we still have nice sharp threads. The other interesting thing is that even though all of the threads have been flattened, which actually I'm going to try to put this nut back on, see if we can protect the threads throughout the duration for the rest of the test. But anyway, what's interesting is, I'll take one of these, give you a close up of this so you can see. That one you should be able to see that the threads have been flattened. What's interesting is that even though the threads have been flattened, the threads on the inside of the nut are still sharp, but you can still, for the most part, just thread a nut right on here. And maybe not. It gets a little bit tough, but you can still kind of fit one on there. So the threads aren't completely damaged, and it's not even that loose. It's still pretty good. Maybe by the end, we might have they might be polished up and shiny, perhaps, and the bolts still might work. But other than that, everything pretty much looks the same. All the washers don't really look like much has happened at all. Not much to really say there. I'm not sure what's going to happen by the end, but there's definitely something going on. Next thing we got is the necklace. Now, the necklace has pretty well worked itself into a ball. I tried to be real gentle and try to work it out of the ball, but you can see all of the gold, so it was just gold plated, has been completely worn off, and we're just down to the silver. But also, what you might not be able to tell on camera, but I can tell in person, is that the gold, or not the gold, but the necklace itself, every little link has been worn down so thin and so brittle. I don't really want to break it, but maybe I'll do like a strength test later or something. But it's just super thin, like pop can thin, that I would bet by the end that this thing is probably going to be in pieces, because of just the little joints between every little link have just been worn down so thin. I don't know that this is even going to make it the whole 30 days. I think it's going to be in pieces. Next up, we have our Obsidian with, I can't even remember what these were called. I think these were the rest of our healing stones or whatever. Oh, somehow the link to the necklace got in there somehow. The obsidian, for one, is definitely worn down because these were just like very rough cuts before. So I'm surprised by that. I thought obsidian was supposed to be like extremely hard and it wouldn't wear down. Turns out that was wrong. Another cool thing is that almost all of these obsidian stones have some type of like little crack or something on them that's like, I guess, deep or something. So that way, like the aggregate can't get in there to make it like smooth like this, like the rest of them. I assume that's going to look really cool, especially after they go through the rest of the polishing stages and they're like super shiny, and then you have like these deep like cuts and grooves. I think that's going to look pretty cool. And then the rest of the healing stones, they just look like regular stones. Nothing really crazy or fancy there. They're just stones that have been worn down. Now we got the Legos. These look like they've been pretty mangled. There was one, I think that you can see where like the edge has been taken off. I don't know if you can even, oh yeah. Oh, there's like aggregate that got trapped in there. That's interesting. Now that I really take a close look at them, they don't look as bad as I thought. I think you can still take most of them apart. But all the shine has been wore off of them, as you would expect. That one's got a little nick right there. Actually, they fared pretty well. I thought they were much more destroyed. Whenever I was washing them off, they looked like they had been like mangled, but actually not too bad. So we might actually get something cool out of that. Now the seashells. These were actually pretty surprising. So for one, whenever I opened the container to wash them out, the smell was horrendous. It wasn't, that might be an exaggeration. It wasn't horrendous, but it was a very strong smell, whereas the rest of them didn't have any type of smell. It was just, just whatever. But these really smelled like, I guess just like really dirty ocean is what they smelled like. And then a lot of them, like this one, the side has been completely wore out. This one, like broke through here. I think we had I think we had 3 or 4 starfish in here. Those are completely gone. There was a couple other things I think we had in here that are just completely gone. This whole side's wore out. Actually, all of these have been broken and worn down in some way. This is kind of like, this has been worn down and it's just kind of like rough. I'm going to make a prediction. I don't think that the seashells are going to make it. I think by the time we hit 30 days, these are all going to be just like disintegrated into nothing. This was with the most coarse aggregate. So maybe as we get finer and finer, maybe they'll just start getting kind of polished up or something, and they won't get pulverized into nothing. But it's not looking very good for them. And then last but not least, we have our stones that came with the kit, which so far they look like exactly what you would expect. Very rough stones that are now, believe it or not, actually pretty smooth. So I would suspect that once we get through all of the aggregate, that these will probably polish up and be very nice. I also feel like there's less of these now than there was to begin with. Like maybe some of these got pulverized too or something. That's our 1 week update. I'm going to put these in with the medium grit. We'll come back in a week. All right, update time. We have now completed the coarse grit and the medium grit. A little spoiler alert, there's not a ton of difference between the last time we looked at these and what we're looking at now, but there is a slight difference. This isn't all of them. I just, grabbed a good sample size because they're all pretty much the same. But one thing I do want to note is that I noticed like this one that I put the 2 nuts on, and I showed you last time up close how the threads had kind of like smoothed out. Well, the threads have now smoothed out even more. And then now I literally just just twisted this thing off 2 seconds ago. Okay, there we go. There's a little bit of rust in there. But now you can, those threads have been worn down so smooth that now the nut just slides right off. Whereas before, it had a little something to grab onto, but now it just slides right off. And then even somehow, I guess the grit like made its way between the nut and the bolt or something. Because even when it's up all the way where it was protected, it's still kind of loose. And then some of them, like this one, I think this is the nut that goes with that. I mean, they're just basically completely smooth. You can just slide it right off. Kind of the only change. All the little washers and stuff, all just pretty much, they just look the exact same. Like I said, nothing huge, but very curious to see how these pan out over the pre-polish and the polish stage. Next up, we'll take a look at the necklace. Essentially no change. As far as I can tell, it's identical. It's still even tied in the exact same knot. Does look like it's a little shinier, maybe. Some of the links look like maybe they're a little thinner. It pretty much looks the exact same. Now that I look at it real close, there are some spots where you can tell it's almost paper thin. So I suspect we're probably going to lose some length to this chain, but maybe we'll get lucky and it'll stay in one piece, and the polish will polish it up real nice and shiny, and we'll have a gold chain turn silver. Next, let's take a look at the rocks. This is just the regular rocks from the ones that came with the kit, and these look like they're on the right path. I think these are going to, after the pre-polish and then the polish, I think they're going to shine up really nicely. And there's really not a whole lot to say. I can tell that they are smoother than they were before, but we still got 2 polishing stages to go. So I think these are going to shine up really nice. Now let's take a look at our obsidian. The obsidian, last time we looked at it, oh, that kind of sucks. That's kind of there. Last time we had these like really cool cracks and stuff, and it looks like they've worn down to the point where those aren't, I mean, that one still kind of has it there a little bit. That actually kind of sucks. I think they're just going to wear down into just normal black stones, and that's it. And then we have our little healing rocks, which are like really shrinking down into what's probably going to end up being like tiny little pebbles by the end. Now, this is the one that was the most shocking to me. The seashells. So as you can see, the total volume of seashells that we have here is like, what? Probably an eighth, probably, of what we started with. I think we had multiple of these big ones. Now we only got one. All of these things have been worn down to almost nothing. Like this, I think this wasn't as big as this, but it was much thicker. Now it's like paper thin. And I can feel it's just so fragile. It's probably going to just break into pieces. Actually, both of those, I think, were about this size to start, or even bigger, and they've just completely worn down to almost nothing. And then we got this little thing that's like holding up. But like these tiny little itty bitty spirals, I don't even know what those were, but they're wore down to almost nothing. And we got just these little bits and pieces that I don't even know what these were to begin with. I have a feeling by the time we get through all 4 stages that there's just going to be nothing here. It's just going to be pulverized into like sand and just dust. So that was the most interesting to me. Now we have the Legos, which honestly, I think they're holding up really well. And there's really not a whole lot going on. Like you can tell on the corners that it's kind of been rounded off, some of them. Like you can tell on this one that the corners have been rounded off. You can tell that the shiny part, like the clear coat or whatever it is they put on Legos, is all gone. Not a big deal. I think they all probably still click together just fine. If I can get some of them apart. Yeah. Let's put that over here. They still click together just fine. So the logos are holding up pretty well. All right, so that's everything. I'm going to put them back on the tumblers. We're going to now do the pre-polish. for 9 days, and we'll check in when that's done. All right, it's everybody's favorite time, another rock tumbler update. So I think this is update number 3. I'm going to be honest, this is going to be kind of a quick one because really not a whole lot has happened. Especially like with the bolts. At least like whenever you just look at them, they don't really look that much different. When you feel it, I can tell that it feels a little bit smoother, but I don't see that like that shininess coming in that I wanted to see, with a polish. They just feel a little bit smoother. Maybe once we go through the last step of polishing, maybe that'll kind of like bring it back to life and, they'll be nice and shiny. Really not a whole lot to talk about here, just it feels a little bit smoother. Some of them, I can tell, like this one, the like edge of it is kind of like more rounded than I think it was before. But other than that, that's really the biggest update that we got with these. I'm hoping that these will, shine up and actually be like a something real shiny whenever we get done. But we'll see. Next, we'll move on to our necklace. So the necklace, it actually finally did, wherever it is, I think it's here. No, yeah, here. It finally did separate. Or maybe it did. Was it broken on the last one? I don't remember. But it's broken now. And that's the biggest update with the necklace. As far as how it feels, it doesn't feel like it's getting any thinner at this point. I think it is kind of maybe getting shined up a little bit. Whenever I like run it through my fingers, I can feel that it feels a little bit smoother, but it's definitely not shiny. It definitely doesn't look like, polished. It does look just very, very clean, and it feels very, very soft. It almost feels, I want to say almost kind of like a velvet or something. It actually feels very nice. But other than that, that's really it. This thing is still in knots. There are certain places. Of course, I'm not going to be able to find one here on camera. But I suspect it'll probably be in 3 pieces or more by the time it goes through again. Yeah, nothing too exciting. It just feels a little bit different. Now we have our obsidian. So the obsidian, it actually just looks the exact same. The only thing different, just like with the other 2 things, it feels a little different in your hands. Like it feels like it's a lot smoother. I know, because I've tumbled rocks before, that after we get done with this final polish stage, they should look pretty shiny. It feels like maybe we're about halfway there. There's really not a whole lot going on here. I think, sadly, there's really cool like cracks. Oh, there's still a little bit left there. But sadly, I think they're kind of pretty much gone. And then these little, I forget, what were these called? Healing stones or something? This one looks really cool, actually. That one is probably going to look really cool once it's actually polished. But they're kind of the same way. Not much difference. They just feel kind of soft. These also feel almost kind of like velvety. So, nothing crazy exciting. Next, we got the Legos. The Legos, really nothing exciting here. I mean, they just look exactly the same. You really can't even tell that they've been doing anything. You can tell that like some of the corners are a little bit more worn than before. Really, not a whole lot at all here. Really kind of boring on the Legos. Sadly, I don't think anything else is really going to happen with them. Because even once we've already worn off the like, I don't even know what it is, like clear coat or whatever it is they put on them whenever they finish them to make them shiny. We're definitely not going to get that back. They might feel like super soft maybe by the time we get done, but looks wise, I don't really think a whole lot's going to happen, but we can hope. Now we have, these are just the regular rocks that came with the kit. Oh wow, I didn't see this before. That actually looks super cool. This almost looks, it's got like multiple layers to it. Oh, this one looks cool too. Okay. And the rest of them kind of just look, this one looks cool. The rest of them, they just kind of look, they just look like rocks that have been tumbled. And they look much smaller. Like, I think this one started off much bigger than it is. And it's really, really worn down quite a bit. But these, I know these are going to look really good after that last polish stage. And then last but not least, we have the seashells. Surprisingly, the seashells don't look like they've crushed down anymore. I was expecting to open up that rock tumbler and see just like seashell like paste and really not have much left. But I'm actually surprised. There's actually quite a bit left. And these in particular, I think these are actually going to come out really cool as long as they don't break, because they feel like the rock's real velvety, super soft. And I think once these get the final polish stage on them, I think these are going to look really cool. I wish these could have stayed like the same size as they were, and then it would have looked really cool. But other than that, maybe this is that's probably going to break. And then we just got a bunch of little broken little bits and bobs here. This looks pretty cool. You know, again, feels very soft. I don't know like what makes this shell different, like why this one has stayed together and the rest of them just like crumbled. Because I think we had multiples of this style of shell and they're all just vaporized. So I expect this one to hold on, and I'm hoping that it'll, with the real fine grit, it'll get polished up and be real nice and shiny. I mean, it's nothing, like I said, nothing crazy. I'm going to throw them in for the last polish stage, and then in 9 days, we'll see the final results. It's time for our final rock tumbler update. So first, we're going to start off with our just random nuts and bolts. Not a whole lot has changed since the last time. I did notice that some of these really small ones, like this one, you can kind of see that these two have, the threads are just completely gone, and it's just like a completely smooth shank. There's nothing left. Whenever you look at the rest of them, really not a whole lot has changed. All the nuts are like really loose now. There's just nothing for them to grab a hold of. They will just... The one thing I'm kind of upset about is that they didn't get shiny. I thought that with the final polish that they would just have a shine to them. But I'm assuming that these are, I don't know, maybe coated in like zinc or something, or they have some type of coating, and then we've taken all of that off, so now it's just bare metal, and there's just not enough left for it to become shiny. This one almost looks like a nail. It's so smooth. I mean, they got smoother. Other than that, not really a lot changed. Pretty cool. I thought maybe there would be, I don't know, I guess a little bit more after spending whatever it was, like 45 days or something inside of a rock tumbler. But this is what we got. So kind of cool nonetheless. Let's move on to the necklace. So our necklace here, basically not a lot changed. It didn't get shiny. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. It has completely untangled itself almost. So that's kind of new. And one thing I can notice after this last stage is that the metal, all the links are just so thin. Like they've just been worn down to almost nothing. I don't know how well you can see it, but whenever I look at it in person, just right at the very edge where all the little links meet, it's just paper thin. There's almost nothing holding this thing together. And some of them I can see are even kind of like bent up and like a little bit twisted where they're just so paper thin. Like let's do this. Let's see how much force it takes for it to pull apart. Oh wow, it's actually got some strength behind it. Wow. Okay. So they are paper thin, but they still have a lot of strength in there. That's actually surprising that it is that hard to break, but yet I forget, like during stage 1 or 2 maybe, this piece broke off. So I wonder what happened there. But yeah, this still has a pretty good amount of strength behind it. Ow. That was like cutting into my finger. Okay, so whatever this thing is made out of, it's got some real strength behind it. Okay, it feels like I'm trying to pull apart like a thin wire. I can feel it kind of like it's about to slice into my fingers. I really thought that I would take that and it would just be like boop, and it would just break right apart. That thing has some real strength behind it. So that's our necklace. Nothing crazy. It is kind of cool that it still has so much strength, even though it's so paper thin, but it's pretty cool. Now let's move on to the seashells. This one is interesting. Was that a gnat? The big shell did stay intact. That was impressive. But these, I think, have done exactly what I wanted them to do, which was they became very shiny. Or at least this one did. The rest of them kind of, there's this one. The rest of them have kind of just been dwindled down to nothing. This one's actually got some nice shine to it. And it's very, if you feel it in your hand, it's so smooth. It feels like glass. It's so smooth. It would have been so cool if this one would have stayed its original size and not had so many pieces break off of it, but then the whole thing was just smooth like this. Because I mean, glass is the only thing I can compare it to. It's so smooth. And there's this one. I don't think that had a hole in it before, so I guess that's new. The inside's smooth. Don't get me wrong, but it's not as smooth as the outside of this. I feel like this one could honestly benefit from going a little bit longer or something, because it's smooth, but it's not as smooth as you would expect. We should do like a flashback to the beginning to show how many shells there were, because there were so many, and now there's just so few. Like, so many of them just got crushed and pulverized into just nothing. So that's kind of crazy. It almost makes you wonder, like, how in the world can you go to the beach and even find shells if they've been on the ocean floor, on the sand, worked down by the sand over and over and over and over? Like, how do any of them even survive to get to the beaches? That kind of blows my mind, because this was only, like 45 days in a rock tumbler, whereas the ocean, they're in there forever, just constantly getting just ground down by the sand, but yet they still make it to the beaches in one piece. So that's pretty cool. Now let's go on to the rocks. These were the rocks that came with the kit, and they're shinier. That one looks kind of cool. This one actually looks really cool. I actually really like this one. I think that one's one of my favorite ones. But then you got ones like this one. Oh, that one's kind of cool too. Then you got ones like this that, yeah, they're really smooth, but they still got this kind of like white haze to them that just kind of doesn't look like it's been polished. It just looks smooth. I figured it would have more of a really polished, like shiny look. I guess maybe you could put like a clear coat or something on them maybe, and then really like bring it to life. But I just expected this to just have more of like a polish to it, but it just doesn't. But some of them still came out pretty cool. Like, especially this one. Like I said, I think that one's my favorite. These white ones turned out pretty good. This one looks really cool. It's like almost kind of like changes colors as you move it around. But yeah, I expected a little bit more out of these, to be honest. Next, let's take a look at the obsidian. So we got the obsidian with the healing stones. These healing stones or whatever have really like dwindled their way down to almost nothing. They look like just very tiny versions of the previous rocks. And this obsidian, I'm just not that impressed with it. I'm impressed that it got worn down. I thought, like I said in the beginning, I was under the impression that the obsidian was so hard that just nothing would happen. So it is pretty cool to see that it wore down. But it's just got this like flat gray look to it. I thought it would be like shiny, like and polished, and like the rocks you see in the store or something. I guess there's maybe something you gotta like dip them in or whatever to make that happen. But these kind of just look like just boring, plain rocks. There's nothing really fancy going on here. It's still cool, but yeah, it's a little boring. And last but not least, we have the Legos. So the Legos, I don't think anything happened. Period. I think they're the exact same as they were before. Just really nothing. Still dull. Some of the edges are still rounded. Yeah, you can see just not a whole lot happened. Which is honestly probably kind of good, because that really speaks to the durability of Legos, because they could withstand being tumbled around in a rock tumbler for like 45 days. And they still come out looking pretty much brand new. Just a little bit more flat. See if we can take some of these apart. Ew. I did not expect this. There's all kinds of, all the grit and stuff is all packed between all the random Legos. I didn't really expect that. How'd that even get in there? Oh, yeah. Okay. That's quite the surprise. Other than that, not really a lot happened. That's it. That's 5 random things at Rock Tumblers. Leave a comment down below. What else would you like to see me leave in these Rock Tumblers for 30 days? I'm so curious to see what you guys would like to see. I don't really have that many more ideas for Rock Tumblers, but got something crazy that you'd like to see go through the gauntlet of a Rock Tumbler and see how it turns out on the other side? I'd love to hear it. So, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.